Welcome to the Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and we've got a lot of Sea of Thieves news to cover today. So tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, I am joined by none other than the Dread Pirate Doug. He is joining me, and we are going to be talking about not only what it was like for Fest of Legends to happen, but a lot of new information about Fest of Legends for 2024. There's a lot to cover in that. We're going to be talking about the Race of Legends. You may be wondering why this episode is out on a Friday if you're listening to it right now. Otherwise, we're going to be talking about Sea of Thieves' latest edition in the Tall Tale saga, the Monkey Island Tall Tale 2, The Legend of Monkey Island. It is a great time. It is full of spoilers, so it's at the end of the episode. So we're going to be talking about it. We're also going to be talking about when the spoilers happen. So, and consider the whole rest of the episode to be filled with spoilers. So we're going to be talking about that. But first, I have to thank the patrons. They are the ones that went over to patreon.com/Keelhauled podcast to support this content to help make sure that it's taking care of the bill. So I want to give them a shout out on the episode, as I do every single week. Thank you to People's Republic, El Cute, Balls, Bam Bam Bagel, Captain Chonky, Chateau Noof, Super Pack, Zombie Killer, Cloud, Cosmic Johnson, Static Mirror, DA Gaming, Davram TV, El Jefe Esteban, Fergatron, Godhammer 6, Trickster, Jabaro 5, Jorby Jorbs, Carl Embo, Kazia the Aficionado, Nightstar, Lumpy SRQ, Evil Morpheus, Space Admiral Oars, Xbox Mike 29, Murphy Lives, Mutinous Max, Regis Stella, Norwegian, Roger the Brave, Replicated Flame, Rust Belt Kid, Skamelt 666, Captain Dasm, Tommy D, TN Professor, Real Big Tuna, Big Bad Pad, Mina Fairy, Captain J Rat of the Flaming Cold Sore, The Lore Chronologist Deadeye Dre, Hager Owl, Jeff H, Ghost Boy 20, Evil Martha, Peter Miller, Rooski Doo, Thor Von Blitz, Windsor Chris, Luke Lore, the Insipid Ghost, and Zam Wow. Thank you all so much for your support. It really does mean the world to me. I hope that you all take a listen to this episode. It is very important to me that Doug gets some recognition, not only for what he does with Fest of Legends, but also for the merchandise that he's putting out there for Fest of Legends that will get you early access to tickets for the next Fest of Legends. If you're interested in that, I think it's going to be more popular this 2024 year compared to this one, obviously, and as well as his Patreon that he's kicking up to help support his content that he puts out on and has been putting out for 5 years without a Patreon. It's kind of nuts that was a thing. So really excited about that. Got some good news for you. Sit back, relax. Let's get into it. Welcome, everyone, to the latest episode of the Keelhauled podcast. I am joined this week by none other than Dread Pirate Doug, which I always is so hard for me to say for some reason.
It's a mouthful.
But Doug, how you doing, buddy? Hi, it's good to have you back.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'm glad to be back. I don't know how long it's been, but it's been a minute.
It has.
And I'm excited to be back.
Yeah. So we got to actually meet this year when you hosted the Fest of Legends, and I actually got to show up. It was a fantastic event. I really had a good time there. It was a perfect opportunity for me to have an excuse to go travel East Coast and actually meet up with a bunch of the Keelhauled members there and just get faces to names and voices. And it was really fantastic to meet you as well, too. So I'm really glad we got a chance to do that. And we talked about it then, but I wanted to invite you back on so that we could talk about that and how it was for you and what you thought of it and what you want to do in the future, and see if we could get some teases about, Fest of Legends 2024. And
I've got a couple in the chamber.
Ooh. So I want to talk about that. But not only that, we actually have been hanging out and doing the Monkey Island Tall Tales as well, too. And
yes,
we've been running with Davram over at Davram TV on Twitch, as well as the Pirate Talk Radio. and Creo from Creo Gang over on Twitch as well too. We've been having a lot of fun there too.
Heck of a crew.
It's hilarious to have us go through. I wish we could have done the second Tall Tale earlier yesterday, because it was hard to push it out for so long, given how long of a Tall Tale that is too. But
it's a project.
Yeah. So, but I want to hold off on that, because the whole point of bringing you in was I wanted to get some conversation rolling about Festa Legends. It was a great success in February, at the end of February, and I wanted to bring you on to talk about what was that like for you when you originally started this off. It was mostly just because it's something I've been nagging you to do for a long time, and I feel like I'm partially to blame for this. So if anything, I feel like I have to do my due diligence of bringing you on to promote the next one as well too.
I appreciate it. Middle of July, we all got together, end of June. We all got together in Columbus. For those of you who, might not be familiar with the Festa Legends, or obviously didn't make it. We had just over 200 pirates there. We had a cosplay competition, a Race of Legends competition, Cutlass Crusades was going on. We had a couple of artists there doing their thing. We had the mini Race of Legends, which was toy sailboats controlled by little hand fans, which is way more fun than it had any business being. And probably a bunch of other stuff that I'm forgetting about. But it was a lot of fun. It was really cool to meet so many people. I think everybody there was meeting some really close friends that they'd never met in person.
Yeah.
I think that almost everybody fell into that category, myself included. It was so cool to meet. Some people were just like a name that was familiar on Twitter. And then some people were, people I hang out with, every week for hours, playing video games or watching movies or doing nothing. And, obviously everybody in between. So having the opportunity to get everybody together, the vibes were just impeccable. Everyone was so excited to be there. Everyone was so excited to meet each other and hang out and get involved in all the things that were going on. And this was my first time running an event, so everything didn't go perfectly, but the few things that didn't go well, people were super chill about. And let me tell you guys, next year is just going to be a whole different situation, but we'll get to that.
Yeah. And I just want to echo that, because it was fantastic to be able to have a place to take over a couple tables and just bring friends together. It was one of those situations where you've been with folks for so long. In this case, for me, it was multiple years that I've known these folks, and to get an opportunity to actually go somewhere, sit down, and just be around each other playing Sea of Thieves, or just kind of hanging out. You don't often get that nowadays. Like back in the day, it was always kind of like you and maybe a couple neighborhood or school hood kids that would come over, and you'd hang out and you'd play a couple games. You'd play GoldenEye or something like that. And that was the extent, that was the reach of your universe. And nowadays, because of the internet, because of social media and games in general and multiplayer, it is so much easier to meet folks on a broader scale. And to get a chance to actually go meet them is so much more difficult than it used to be when it was just you and your buddies in like a cul-de-sac or something. So having a reason, and I always tell folks about this, you need a reason to go visit someplace. Most people don't usually go on vacations just because it's a vacation. There's usually something there that is drawing them to it. It's either a work event or a convention, or some sort of like a sweepstakes that they won or something. It's a cruise, or there's like an amusement park. There's a reason why folks typically go visit things. And when games are online, the most we have is typically like big, large conventions. But thanks to Coconut Fever, we did not really get too many conventions in the last few years. So
Not so much.
No, for good reason. You know, coconut fever sucks. But the fact that we actually have like folks like you, folks like the Sea of Thieves Fest team putting on specific Sea of Thieves focused conventions, regardless of scale, really justifies the reason to go spend the money to take a trip to go do this, to go visit people, because so often than not, most of us usually like to hang out, sit in a room in front of a screen and play video games and talk online. Getting us out of the house or out of the apartment or out of the condo is not always the easiest thing to do. So I really love the fact that you did this, because not only did you just say, hey, we're doing this and it's a thing that you can come to, but you had the mini race of legends, which isn't just, you know, little ships, you know, pushing a little ship across a thing of water with a little fan. It's also the fact that you gave people the opportunity to fully customize it, you know, with paints and stuff.
Oh,
they could paint it all up.
So cool.
And they did such a good job. So many ships were just had some of the coolest livery sets that I'm like, I would buy that in the Pirate Emporium. That looks great. Right. I wish.
And then some people just perfectly recreated one. The guy that won did the NAL sales and did a fantastic job.
Yeah. Go figure, right?
They're everywhere.
So, but it was an opportunity for us to do something beyond just what was actually the main attraction, which I think was getting to meet other folks there. So I wanted to ask you, with the retrospect and some time between now and when Fest of Legends happened, were there any events at the Fest of Legends that you really thought did well or got feedback on that you want to bring forward with the next Fest of Legends?
I mean, yes. I mean, we're going to be doing almost everything we did year one, year two. It's just going to be bigger and better organized and more awesomer. The mini race of legends is a great example. Mm-hmm. So we had actually shout out to Golden Day Coffee at, I think, GDC Roadrunner on Twitter. Yeah. Matt was there selling his coffee, which is fantastic. And he also had free samples, which is even more fantastic. And he brought this giant flat wooden box for us to have the mini race of legends in. It's probably, I don't know, 8 feet by 3 feet, something in that neighborhood. It's still sitting out of my back porch. I could run and measure it, but something like that. So it was awesome. And we had like some, you know, kind of fish tank stuff in there to act as obstacles. Yeah. And it was a lot of fun.
That's cool.
But next year for the mini race of legends, and this is actually the first time I've talked about this, so I can't discuss the venue just yet because I haven't signed the paperwork. Okay. But that is pending. Very soon I will have a venue, and when I have the venue, that means I have a date. I'll be able to announce the date. I know a lot of people have been wondering when we're going to have a date. We're going to have a date very, very soon. Within 30 days of when this episode's coming out, which is the beginning of September, you should be able to hold me to that. We should have a date announced. Also, the venue I'm looking at has an indoor pool. That indoor pool is very small and about 4 feet deep the whole way around. And what we're going to be doing is taking the mini race of legends and make it, we might have to rename it the medium race of legends, because we're going to have the boats again. They work so well. And like, I could go on and on about how much work it was to find those boats that would work for the mini race of legends, because your average toy sailboat, when you actually try to use it as a sailboat, just tips over. We actually had special navigation sails, which the guy who owns the company that makes the toy or the toy sailboats explained to me that they are fashioned after trade wind sails. And I nodded and pretended to know what he was talking about. Yeah. But he's like, do you know anything about sailing? I was like, a little. And then he said a bunch of stuff I didn't understand. But anyway, so he He actually tested this out. We had the Race of Legends branding on the sails. It was so cool. But you can maneuver them really well with the hand fan. You're not just kind of pushing the ship in a general direction. You can really turn them and maneuver them really well. So in this pool, we're going to be able to use, I think, most of this indoor pool for the mini Race of Legends. And then what I'm going to do is buy a couple of pool skimmers and pop off the skimmer part and replace that with an electric hand fan, and we will be using that to maneuver the boats around. There may or may not be a megalodon making an appearance in the form of a remote control shark. I've got a few other surprises in store. We're also going to have the opportunity for you to decorate your boat should you want to. That will be an option as well. And we're going to try and have some more like group art project type things going on. Which I'm excited about as well. There's a lot, but yes, like the mini Race of Legends is a good example. We did it the first year and it worked really well, and we're just going to go bigger and better. Cutlass Crusades is planning to be back. I'm very excited about that. We'll have more details on that. We're going to have a much larger Race of Legends tournament where a whole bunch of crews can get involved. We'll have prelims starting in probably February or March for ticket holders. Sometime after tickets have gone on sale, obviously, we'll have prelims for those tournaments. Then we'll have the final rounds going on at the event. It's going to be very exciting.
Now I'm very excited. You're talking about a lot of stuff here, Doug. That sounds like a lot to pack into 24 hours of an event. How are you going to manage this?
Last year was a day and a half, basically. It was Friday, half the day, and then all day Saturday. This year, we are shooting for basically a 3-day event, kicking off on Friday, all day Saturday, and most of the day Sunday. If we're going with the venue that I think we're going with, we will also have hotel rooms on site, kind of a conference center type vibe. There's a restaurant on site and a pub. We'll get into more about the venue once I've signed paperwork with them, but that is forthcoming.
That's amazing.
So stay tuned. I'm excited.
3 days of piracy, all in for the most part. Columbus, Ohio is going to be for sure. Yep. Okay, that's fantastic, dude. That's a huge step up from just what even like Sea of Thieves Fest was doing. 3 days is going to be a lot of time for folks to be able to dip in and dip out, spend some time, check out a lot of different events, and maybe not feel so pressured to necessarily run around. So I wanted to ask, there's going to be a lot of events going on with Fest of Legends 2024. But I imagine that there's probably going to be some downtime in between then. So is there any plans to have any kind of food or food trucks, catering, any kind of things like that available for folks that are interested?
Yes, the venue we're looking at has a pub and a restaurant on site. The restaurant will do breakfast and lunch. The pub will do dinner. It's also in an area where there's a ton of restaurants and stuff that you can easily, some of them you can actually walk to. And if within a 5-minute drive, there's a whole bunch of dining options if you're looking for something, a little past standard pub fare. I'm still working on what all food options we are going to have. But there will be plenty of food available. And if you're looking for something a little beyond what we've got available, you should have plenty of options there as well.
That's fantastic. Okay, so there's plenty of stuff to do as far as events. You've got lodging, you've got food covered. What about content creators and crafters? Is there plans in store for them? Are there anything that you can share yet, or anything that folks should look forward to?
Yes, I can definitely say we're going to be doing quite a few creator panels throughout the event. So you're going to get a chance to, and also hopefully some meet and greets, by the way, with some of the creators that are there, potentially even some community meetups as well. So if you are a creator who would like to get involved in maybe one of our panels or help host something or get involved in any way, be sure to reach out to me. Also, if you're we're running a community or know someone that is, and you might like to have a little meetup or have some space that's set aside for your community to hang out for a few hours or what have you, definitely be sure to reach out to me. I would love to help facilitate that. And then, if you are a creator in terms of a crafts person, and you make stuff and you would like to sell it or even just like show it off and get have maybe even send some stuff to auction off for maybe some of the charity things that we'll be doing, which I'll have more details about soon, definitely reach out. We are definitely going to have space for vendors, for people to come in and set up a little booth and sell your Sea of Thieves wares. The sooner you reach out, the better. Twitter's a good way to go, @DreadDoug, or you can find me on Discord pretty easily as well. I'm an easy guy to get in touch with.
Definitely. Awesome. That's great to hear. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I can think of where I want to make sure that it gets addressed. It sounds like you've got a little bit of everything for anyone that is coming over. I won't bring up any of the stuff that I think we've talked about as far as stuff that isn't confirmed yet, but I think
so much. Yeah. So much is confirmed. Well, I mean, so much of this is in flux, and, keep in mind, we're almost a year out from Fest of Legends 24. So things could change. Like, one thing I'm really excited about is a Sea of Thieves trivia contest that's also going to work into a Sea of Thieves game show with hopefully some really cool prizes. So things like that, I'm hoping to make that happen. I think it would be awesome. I have a very ambitious idea for a couple of kind of mini events throughout the weekend, maybe some type of awards ceremony, maybe an after party. We're definitely going to have an after party. The question is where it'll be, things like that. I have some cool ideas. Can't confirm anything yet, but it's going to be awesome.
Fantastic. And if people want to learn more about this, or maybe even go about supporting you in this endeavor, what would be a good way for them to start with those?
So if you go to @Fest of Legends on Twitter or @DreadDoug, you'll see a link tree in my bio. If you click on that, so there's a couple of things you can do here. If you would like to get actually some Fest of Legends 23 merch, you can do that right now. The link is in the bio @Fest of Legends on Twitter or in our bio on Instagram. If you jump in there, any merch purchase gets you early access to tickets next year. So realistically speaking, if you buy a piece of merch, or also if you subscribe to the new Race of Legends Patreon, either of those will get you early access to tickets for Fest of Legends 24. As a way of just saying thank you for your support. Like I said, realistically speaking, it guarantees that you'll get a chance to buy a ticket for next year. Last year, tickets did sell out really fast. And with all the hype from last year, I'm expecting we will sell out quickly again this year. So that's an option. If you do go over to the Race of Legends Patreon, you'll also have some little insights, some of what I talked about here, some stuff in addition to what I've talked about here. I'm going to be dropping some just kind of an update once or twice a month at least about what we're working on for the Race of Legends. We've got the 5th anniversary coming up. We're planning something big for that. Some of the details of what I'm working on and planning for the Fest of Legends, all that good stuff. So I'm going to be keeping our Patreon supporters informed as I'm working on everything over the coming months here.
Fantastic. So I'm going to have links to not only your link tree on Twitter, but also the Discord server, and as well as your Patreon, to make sure that folks have an opportunity to support this and make sure that this is a thing that happens, because, ticket sales are good. Ticket sales help. They cover the costs and helps, hopefully, if possible, help try and kickstart the next year's convention. Because if you guys think about it, realistically, conventions are all built off of the ticket price. So if the ticket price doesn't cover the costs of the actual convention, chances are it's not going to happen again. And if you're anything like me, correct, I want this to be a regular thing. Now that we've got one in the United States, it's a lot easier to go to Ohio than it is to go to England, being from California. And I want to make sure that I get a chance to go see a lot of my friends over on the East Coast on a more regular basis. It means a lot to me to be able to do that. So I'm going to have links. Be sure you guys get an opportunity if you can. It's always appreciated to support Doug in these endeavors. But speaking of legends, Doug, you've got an event tomorrow. We're recording this on Friday. I'm going to put this out on Friday. You've got an event tomorrow that you have to host, and it's going to be another Race of Legends.
Yes. If you're listening to this on the 1st or 2nd of September, it is most likely not too late. So tomorrow, which is Saturday, September 2nd, we've got a Race of Legends. We have the winners actually of the SOT Fest Race of Legends tournament going up against a brand new crew that is very ambitious and I think very ready to take on this challenge. So I'm interested to see how this is going to go. We've got we're going to be doing our Race of Legends thing. It's been really great. The first half of this year was so hectic, planning for the Fest of Legends, obviously. And then we were also doing like preliminaries for our SOT Fest tournament. And we did some charity events in there, and we just didn't have a lot of chances to get down to some solid regular season old-fashioned Race of Legends fun. So that's what we're doing now. We've got there aren't a ton of events out there that are still just taking registrations from the Sea of Thieves community, and I'm really excited that we can do that. It's a shame that I can't get, of course, in a perfect world I'd love to do the Race of Legends 3 times a week, and anybody that wants to race can race, but realistically speaking, we've always got more registrations than we have crews. But I want to get as many regular season races in as we can so that everybody gets a chance to race. And if you've never watched a Race of Legends before, it's worth swinging by just for the novelty of it, honestly. We've got an in-game camera crew that is the best in the biz. Just a magnificent group of people, and it's we're basically running a cooperative obstacle course based in Sea of Thieves, and we've been doing it for 9 seasons, and we're currently preparing for our 5th anniversary tournament in probably early November.
That's amazing, man. It's been so cool to see this kind of just continue to persist over the years, especially like you mentioned, there's been a lot of folks that have had events and stuff like that, and they've come and gone. And we've seen some attempts for other groups that have kind of tried to kick things off, but for whatever reason, through sheer perseverance or a genuine desire to try and stop another ship while they're sailing around, a lot of folks have just really loved coming to this. And I'm hoping that this is just something that becomes like indoctrinated into the history of Sea of Thieves. Is the Race of Legends was just a thing that was a part of the community for a long time. I don't know about you, but I've been playing Fallout 76 as a kind of a weird off game between seasons. And the community there, ever since they introduced a pacifist mode, it feels like, has just been amazingly helpful. And every time I think about, it'd be great if we had more of that in Sea of Thieves. I always think about the fact that Race of Legends is 2 competitive teams coming together to really try and show their prowess at Sea of Thieves, running through this obstacle course, and getting to see that, to me, is way cooler than some of the deck shots that you'll see with hourglass clips, or like people getting two quick shots in succession through some sort of interesting questionable methods on a player as they're getting knocked into the sky off of their boat. But seeing the Fest of Legends come to life like that is always great, and I'm hoping that folks will get an opportunity again to really just show up and come watch this. I unfortunately won't be able to make it. This falls on a weekend where I have a majority of the cast of God of War showing up to Sacramento, California. And
that's awesome.
Kind of hard to miss that kind of a convention. Yeah. But
you can catch the replay on YouTube later. That you're going to want to make it to that. Yeah, yes. That's awesome.
So, and if you guys didn't know, again, the Fest of Legends stuff, you can always watch the VOD on Twitch, but you can always catch
Race
it on
of Legends. Yes. Sorry, it's my fault for the naming convention.
You really mess me up every time. If it's not your name, it's the Fest of Legends or Race of Legends.
I've created content just to make life for podcasters hard.
It would help.
Tough.
It would help if I slowed down and actually thought about what I was actually saying. But who does that on a podcast?
Who has the time?
So Race of Legends, you can catch the VOD on the Twitch stream, but you can also go to YouTube and check it out as well too.
Yeah. you can even watch on Twitter. We're
Yeah.
the one person streaming on Twitter.
Love it. I love the fact that that's even a thing, because I think I was on Twitter the other day, and I think it was Omen of all companies was doing like a Twitch stream, and they had Twitter streaming as well too, and they're like doing a giveaway, and I'm like, there's no chat. Like, how do I type in what I gotta type in to get this console?
There's no anything. There's nothing. It's just a live stream that happens to also be on Twitter. But we do have some people that seem to prefer to tune in and watch on Twitter. Which is cool.
If it could be something that was streamed to Spotify, I'm sure you guys would you would figure it out. You could probably do TikTok streams as well. There's so many places. Man, there's too many places for this kind of stuff to happen. It's so hard to manage it all, which is why they have social media managers who get tons and tons of hate online, even though they're doing the hardest of work to try and get content everywhere.
I did social media management back earlier in my marketing career. It is a tough job.
Yeah. Shout out to those that are having to handle that, man. I don't know how well I would handle that. But I'm sure I would have fun trying at some point. So we've covered Fest of Legends. We've covered Race of Legends. We've haven't really dove into actual Sea of Thieves news or anything like that, but we did get an opportunity, and shout out to Davram and Creo for jumping in with us to try out the latest Monkey Island Tall Tale. So I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this, because from my perspective, I've played the first and second games, which helped tremendously, given that a lot of what happens in this Tall Tale is very rooted in what the original game had in it. But you're coming to this from a perspective of someone who's never played the Monkey Island game. And I want to get your thoughts on this, because it's going to be helpful for me to more or less hear how approachable or how clear a lot of the instructions are from that perspective, because I already know, like, oh, we're doing this. I know exactly who we're going to run into. I know exactly what we'll have to do. So from your perspective, you've played through Tall Tale 1. You had a really good time with that. Tall Tale 2, is this accessible to someone who hasn't played the Monkey Island games?
I think it definitely is. I think that this set of Tall Tales is something that, especially if you're a longtime Sea of Thieves player, I think you need to go into it without a lot of expectations or assumptions that these are going to work exactly how all the other Tall Tales have worked. There isn't a bunch of platforming or complicated runes and puzzles and, getting fragments of a map that you piece together to go to the right place. It's much more about, experiencing this new area and this new world, and like it really does. And again, this is as someone who hasn't played Monkey Island at all, but just from what I've seen, it feels more like adding Monkey Island the game to Sea of Thieves than it is adding some characters from Monkey Island, or we're using the setting from Monkey Island, but it's still basically a Sea of Thieves experience. I feel like it's a little bit more of a Monkey Island experience, but that's not a bad thing at all. Working through, and some of this is a tad spoilery, so FYI, but if you haven't run it yet and you're super worried about spoilers, maybe skip ahead.
Now's a good time. We could probably say, like, there's going to be some spoilers, so just kind of, we want to talk about our experience with it. So, and this is coming out like a day after the actual event came out. So I wanted to make sure that we save this to the last bit, just because there's going to be stuff that we're probably going to be considered spoilers. So if you're really concerned about that, 100% respect it. Hit pause, swap over to something else that you want to listen to over the weekend, and then when you get a chance to play through this, definitely drop back in to hear the rest of our thoughts on it.
There you go. Yes. But like the way that they moved the kind of point and click insult combat into Sea of Thieves, I thought that was very creative and kind of brilliant. I mean, I just said there wasn't platforming, but there's a whole platforming obstacle course thing for you to go run through, and which is classic Sea of Thieves. And I saw somebody under 16 seconds on Twitter. How's that even possible?
Yeah.
That makes no sense to me. But
clearly
amazing.
Clearly hacking. Just floating around
and aimbotting, and yes, definitely not just someone who's way better at that game than I am. There's a better explanation.
Now that I think about it, and this is definitely spoiler territory, so if you really have hung out here thinking that you can handle like a few spoilers, this is really spoilery. I wonder if you could shoot the bells or if you actually have to ring them. I got to test that now.
Oh, that would save you a ton of time.
Yeah,
you could go across that first like little bridge area, ring that one, shoot the other one, sword over. Yeah. All right. Yeah. Gonna have to try that. Yeah. That's a good question.
I really want to know. That was an amazing feat. Whoever's got that, congratulations. I think the best time that we had was Creo's 22 seconds. I think it was 22 seconds and some change.
Something like that. Yeah. But I think that was the best on our crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is good. Don't tell Creo I said that, but yeah, no, it was good. It was good. I thought the whole thing was really cool, and I thought there was a lot of unique stuff in there, and like having a knockoff, definitely licensed but not licensed Black Pearl. These things are genuinely funny as long as you take the time to slow down and like read the signs and go through the dialogue trees. Like this just is, these Monkey Island Tall Tales especially, you don't want to speed run these things. You want to jump in and take your time and talk to everybody, because there's little jokes everywhere, and I don't even get half of them because I didn't play the games, but it doesn't matter. There's still really entertaining stuff. The characters are hilarious. That sales guy down by the dock was awesome. The little jokes about the texture on his jacket. I mean, it was great, and it was unique. And going out to where is the little side island that we went to capture the giant beast?
Meat Hook on Hook Island.
I mean, come on, that stuff is just dynamite. And the way they're doing it in this, still technically open world, but you feel like it's guiding you. Like it was a little long. The only complaint I would have is Mike could have broken this up into 2 Tall Tales. But either way, I mean, obviously they've had to restructure the content. I don't think there was a real clear, delineating point like, oh, we're finishing this. So they would have had to restructure it all. But I thought it was awesome. I had a great time. Zip lines are the coolest thing ever, and I hope they add them everywhere in the main game. It'd be so cool. I mean, come on, top of Galleon's grave over to the Sovereigns or something. Throw us a bone.
Gotta equip a hook, and then you can zip line all you want.
That'd be so cool. But yeah, I had a fantastic time.
So I wanted to talk about this Tall Tale because I genuinely think that the trilogy of these Tall Tales, the third one remains to be seen how that's going to work. I'm excited to see it because I think that we don't know what it's going to look like. I have ideas of what it's going to look like because of the experience that I've had playing the games, but to have those realized in 3D will be very interesting, and I'm really looking forward to it. The scale of the rest of Melee Island is amazing. The fact that they've been able to recreate the game, and when you brought it up, I didn't want to stop you, but I have to echo the sentiment. This feels like the first Monkey Island game built into Sea of Thieves as just its own testament to point and click adventures from Lucasfilms and just how good Monkey Island is. The reverence paid to this, the little details, like I was telling you when we were playing, there's a troll, like a paper mache troll head with a flannel jacket next to a bridge that is a clear reference to the first game where you had to bring a red herring to a troll to be able to cross the bridge, and then as you cross the bridge and leave, it stays on the troll, and the troll takes his head off, and it turns out to be a second-rate George Lucas underneath. And it's just the little jokes like that pay off so much more when you understand the reference. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about too was the fact that you talked about talking about to each of the NPCs and going through each of the dialogue trees. Having NPCs now fully voiced and having all of the dialogue trees fully voiced and having all of the journals fully voiced is such a cool experience. It really does add to the immersion. It adds to the feel that this is a real full on like world that you're experiencing. And to get an opportunity to go down to Stan's secondhand boat shop and to have him do what he does in the first game, which is kind of walk you through all of the different ships and kind of say what their pros are and, you know, kind of sell you on them, as well as like the obsidian capstan and the obsidian cannon.
That was dirty.
The obsidian wheel.
Capstan sitting there was messed up.
It's so good that you can't help but love it. And if there was ever a time where I think Rare could have done something nice for the community beyond like obviously just making content for us for free, right? But if they could have done something as a reward, I think this would have been the opportunity where they could have given folks the obsidian capstan. And if they, but you had to, you know, like lock it behind all the commendations for all of the tall tales and just, you know, the dedicated people who sat through all of the dialogue trees and stuff. Like, it would have been so cool to be like, hey, there's the obsidian capstan and they're going to flaunt it in front of you. But at the end of the day, you are actually going to get it. You just don't know it till the third tall tale. Like something like that, I think would have been.
If that's what they're doing, that would be amazing. Yeah. I hope so.
There's time, Rare. There's time. I already have it, so I don't care. But I would love for folks to be able to like get it that way as just kind of a nice like wink and a nod. Like, you know, we teased it in front of you and it was because we really knew we were going to give it to you in the end.
Exactly.
That's the way. The fact that these are approachable from your perspective, I have to say that the Fettuccine brothers there's an obstacle course in the big in the actual big tent circus, and this is something that I think Rare needs to do more often. I've seen games like Astrobot and Neon White where it's a time trial. Like you're playing through those games, you're trying to complete the level as fast as possible, and your time gets recorded. And having a crew of 4 go through this one by one to try and best each other's time through this obstacle course not only harkens back to the shooting out of a cannon with a pot on your head to to test out whether or not it's safe to do, but it also gives you a replayability feature that, you know, we spent a fair amount of time there and finally had to concede because we realized like there's still more we got to do. We can't just sit here and try and been
there all night easily.
Really could have. But it was something where it was like, you know, I can't wait to go back and play the tall tale again, just so I can get to that obstacle course so I can get my time. And if there was ever something like that needs to be added to Sea of Thieves, that is something that I think needs to be done more often. I think, you know, we have the Spire with the Sea Dog Tavern and the obstacle course around there, but at no point is there a global list of who's got the best time. Like ledgers are great. Everyone loves getting free cosmetics, you know, by working on your emissary ledgers and stuff. And you get your spyglass, you get your tankard and stuff like that. And you see the number of people who have the highest amount of gold earned as an emissary, but all of that pales in comparison to seeing who has the shortest amount of time on a, you know, 30-second or better, 20-second or better obstacle course in a tall tale. I don't care a hoot about who's got the highest number of ledgers, because there's Alliance servers out there and they're going to be farming gold all day. Yeah, but you show me who's got the fastest time on an obstacle course like this, bro. That's competitive in a global way right there.
It would be so cool to just take exactly what they have in the tall tale, the little board that shows the fastest time on the crew and your fastest time. Throw that up at the Sea Dog Tavern so that anybody can go over there, record their time between the bells, and, you know, post it on Twitter. It'd be so much fun.
Yeah, definitely need something akin to that, because I think that is realistically one of the coolest things that came out of the Tall Tale. Now, I love the insult system. I think the insult system's great. Shout out to Rare Thief, who I saw posted the pairings on Twitter for folks that are having trouble with it. And it is kind of a little bit of a, you know, there's not really a good way to, unless you're listening to Murray, there's not really a good way to know if you're doing it right or what you have to do. Like I noticed we were smacking the pirate with our swords a lot, and there was no registration outside of the musical dings that was a positive thing to do or a negative thing to do. So I think something like that, like having a little more visibility on what's actually going with that would help out a lot. But having something like that built into Sea of Thieves 2 was really cool and a real testament to what it was in the first game as well. You brought up Meat Hook. I would love for you to kind of share your thoughts on Meat Hook, because I knew it was coming. And I was just waiting for it, and it was so great to have the reaction. But what was it like going to Meat Hook Island with the Beast?
Yeah, I mean, I had no expectations, and one of the first things we notice is the eyes watching us from the bushes and the low growl. It was very unsettling, and made you not want to venture when you got off that zip line. You don't really want to venture left. It seems dangerous. You want to go over to the right to find out what's going on out here. And he was so scared of the Beast. And that whole reveal was just magnificent. And, you know, you kind of see it coming, but it still landed so well.
Yeah.
The way they did that was just from like a writing perspective, like a game, just from a production standpoint, the music and the sound and the camera shake and just the timing of all the lighting, even just, it was great.
Yeah.
And like, what a great character. And I love that you bring this, you know, the Beast back and he's still terrified. You know, throw it in the cage. But like, we saw the cage. It wasn't a very big cage. The Beast had to fit in there. So we knew it couldn't be that big. But no, it was great. And like, again, I didn't really know what to expect. But I was just all these characters are hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having a great time. Like I played High on Life a few months ago, and I recommend the game. It's really fun. As a shooter, it's a really good time. But also the game is hilarious. The characters are great. The dialogue is really, really funny. And I was just sitting there playing the game like, why don't we get more comedy in games? It's such a great platform for comedy. And obviously we have over the years some of the, you know, games that were hilarious. I just hadn't played, like Monkey Island, but I love that Sea of Thieves, and of course Sea of Thieves has always had a sense of humor to it. But that really comes out with the Monkey Island stuff, which I enjoy.
Yeah, I think they did a fantastic job. I have not seen a joke played that well outside of like cinema. Like it's
like a Pixar movie.
Yeah, it's such a Pixar movie feel. And to actually have that in a game, it was great. I knew it was coming, and I couldn't wait to hear your guys' reactions. And it paid off so well. It was such a great experience, man. I love it. I hope everyone gets an opportunity to really dive into that and experience it the way you guys did, because it's so much fun to see other folks reacting that way and just be so surprised by what actually happens. So I wanted to just kind of round things off here and kind of get your thoughts on Sea of Thieves right now with Pirate Legend Week is coming up. That'll be really fun. But are you looking forward to the third Tall Tale? Anything that you want to that you're kind of curious about with as far as like LeChuck? Because right now it's been kind of a situation where LeChuck is clearly flaunting how much he's going to enjoy taking over the Sea of Thieves, which is a stark contrast to what we've kind of had in Sea of Thieves with most people. Most people are trying to take over Sea of Thieves or stop the Pirate Lord, but in a very kind of malicious intent, whereas it feels like LeChuck is like, I'm going to steal the king's crown and then sit in the throne while everyone's running around looking for the crown kind of mode, as opposed to like, I'm going to sit down and murder everyone and cause everyone, burn everything down. So I wanted to get your thoughts on like LeChuck. How do you feel about that character? Are you looking forward to the finale, whatever it may be for Tall Tale 3?
I'm definitely excited for Tall Tale 3. I mean, broadly speaking, with Tall Tales, especially after the Pirate's life and how beautifully Pirates of the Caribbean was woven into Sea of Thieves. In terms of Tall Tales, I'm basically down for whatever Rare wants to do at this point. I don't really have a reason to mistrust them. Not every Tall Tale is perfect, but I do think that overall they have gotten consistently better every time they've released another Tall Tale. Even that set of the initial 9 is a little hit and miss. Some are better than others. The Trickster ones.
Tell me how you really feel.
It's noises. But then, I mean, Shores of Gold is magnificent and might still arguably be the best Tall Tale. Anyway, I've been having a great time. I'm down for,
Okay.
Just debatable, but it's one of the most fun things to do in the game for me still is to run Shores of Gold. I have a great time with it every time. But yeah, I'm basically down for wherever they want to take us at this point with Tall Tales. LeChuck is definitely playing a very interesting game here. I'm definitely interested to see how all of this plays out now that we know he's been impersonating the Pirate Lord. How effective does that? What is his overall plan here? Is he in league with like what's his deal with Flameheart? And I'm not a lore expert, so some of these questions may have already been answered, but yeah, I'm having fun just seeing where this goes. I'm definitely excited to see the final installment of the Monkey Island stuff. I mean, if it's half as good as the final installment of the Pirate's Life stuff, it's gonna be magnificent. And like I said, I feel like they've been generally getting better. So yeah, I can't wait to see where they're gonna take us. And I mean, I'm still genuinely excited about the future of the game. Obviously there are some dissenting voices on that topic these days. And some of those voices make some pretty valid points. But also, this is just how it goes though, right? Like this is a team that is, a quarter the size of, maybe Bungie or someone like that.
Yeah.
Or a quarter, a third the size. They're trying to support a live service game and they're trying to bring free updates and do it all on a budget where the Emporium can cover the costs of producing this stuff.
Yeah.
Because if it can't, then they're losing money instead of making money, and that matters. Because games that lose money are only going to stick around for so long, and a game that makes money can stick around forever. Go check out World of Warcraft or Destiny.
Yeah.
They're not slowing down.
Or Guild Wars too, for that matter. Oddly enough.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Fallout 76 has found a community against all odds. Speaking of which, I've never played it, but I know they have a community around them, which is amazing.
Really surprising.
Yeah, it is after that launch, obviously. But yeah, I'm excited for the future of the game. I think that some people just get a little too sucked into it, which we've all been there. But when you're not enjoying the game, just stop playing it. It's cool. There's other games and you can jump in and play those. And then when you jump back to Sea of Thieves, you'll have such a great time. Play it 1 or 2 nights a week or play it every night. And, just focus on what is in the game instead of what isn't. Whatever works for you. Some people just, I think, tend to, because the game's addictive. It's a great game loop. It's so much fun. And there's infinity things to go and do and commendations to get done and content and all that good stuff, which is great. But it also means it can be a bottomless pit if you fall into it and don't have an out for yourself. Just have a game that's nothing like Sea of Thieves that you play every once in a while in between. I've been playing some BattleBit recently, having a great time with that. Little Master Chief Collection action sometimes is a good way to mix it up. But yeah, no, I'm very excited for the short term and long term future of the game, just because I mean the updates, even like the quality of life stuff that they put into the game. I don't know if people appreciate that pretty much every quality of life change, and I know that someone's going to disagree with this, but broadly speaking, almost all of the quality of life changes they've added to the game have indisputably made it better. Even just the addition of the sovereigns that came along with captaincy wildly improved the game loop. Obviously the changes to harpoons, that goes without saying. The availability of storage crates and all this great stuff, it's just fantastic. It
would be a great update to the game that we that would be a good quality of life update.
Custom servers. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna keep it simple. Those front cannons, those chaser cannons,
stern chasers,
yes. on the ships in Monkey Island Tall Tale.
That would be pretty cool.
Just saying,
they did look fun.
Yeah, I would be very curious if that's a thing that actually happens, because I can imagine and for those of you that haven't played the Tall Tale, first off, I have no idea why you're still listening to this unless you genuinely just do not care about spoilers.
You're still here. Spoilers don't bother you at all.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it. If you got spoiled and you got to stern chasers, all right.
Were warned. No.
No, that was the thing I didn't want to know. So, but yeah, the fact that Stan has a ship that's a ghost ship that you can actually get on, first off, that's amazing. Haven't had that before. And the fact that it has 2 mounted cannons that are personal cannons that you can use at the bow of the ship, and they've moved the harpoons closer in towards the actual bowsprit, is just absolutely crazy. I cannot imagine what fights are going to look like if ships get stern chasers on them and you have chain shot to knock masts down. It is going to be an entire meta change, I think, for folks trying to run. And, if you get close enough, because it's always going to come down to just whether or not you're within cannon range. I gotta imagine those have got to be a little less powerful than a standard cannon. I can't imagine that you could have the power of a ship cannon like standard on the front of your ship as you're chasing after someone. That just seems really, really unfair to the folks that are trying to just sail away. Especially given that there isn't really any recourse unless you want to risk having kegs aboard, which most folks generally don't.
I mean, maybe it only can fire cannonballs or something like that, but so far in the game, we only have one type of cannon. Even the cannon rowboats, it looks a little different, but it's a regular cannon.
Yeah.
They would need to create a new type of cannon. Maybe it has a little less range. Maybe it has a little less firepower. Maybe it can only do a small hole's worth of damage. I don't know. But I would love to see, we haven't really seen a shakeup, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think we've really seen a shakeup in the naval combat meta since, damage was added to ships. Well, no, chain shot came in at the same time.
Probably blunder bombs.
Yeah, that is probably the last thing that we saw. Yeah. But I would be down for, I love the naval combat in Sea of Thieves. I think it's one of the best things in the game. That being said, I would be fascinated to see how this works. And I know that Rare is very committed to the session-based progression, which I think is awesome. One of the things that's kept the game going this long. But that doesn't mean that you couldn't maybe upgrade your ship throughout a session someday. I don't know. Anything's possible.
Yeah, I think there's a real opportunity for this to get added. I am very curious to know if this is something that will make its way to the main game. I'm trying to think if there was anything else. There are some patch notes. I'll probably save those for next week to go over. There's small things here and there, but there are some pretty good changes. And I'll probably want to talk about the actual aim assist feature that week as well. But some good changes that came to the game. Definitely happy to see that we're going to be getting more content through the Pirate Legends week and see what that's about, as well as the rewards for that. And generally, honestly, at this point, I'm just looking forward to going back to Monkey Island Tall Tale 2 to be able to finish up those commendations that I didn't look at beforehand. And also just to kind of get back into that actual the actual obstacle course again, see what my best time could be, get that achievement for that as well.
Heck yeah.
Doug, as we're heading out, I have to ask, is there anything else you want to talk about, or anything that you wanted to shout out as we're kind of heading out for the podcast?
We talked about the early access to tickets for Fest of Legends 24, so keep that in mind.
Yep.
I would also throw out there, we're currently working on planning like I said, the 5th anniversary of the Race of Legends. I haven't talked about this anywhere yet, but we are going to be doing a Sea of Thieves talent competition once again to celebrate the 5th anniversary of the Race of Legends. Looks like we're going to have a full weekend of awesome content coming you guys' way. And I've also got an article up with more detail about that on the Race of Legends Patreon. I've got a Fest of Legends article up with some info and a Race of Legends 5th anniversary. So if you're interested in those, go check them out. And yeah, we've got a race tomorrow. If you're listening to this Friday night or Saturday, come join us. Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. Should be a good time.
Fantastic. Doug, thank you so much for joining on this,
Thanks for
this
having
week's
me.
episode.
This is awesome.
Yeah, I'm glad we got a chance to do it this week with some more stuff to talk about as far as like Fest of Legends and Race of Legends as well. And yeah, I think that's going to do it. So thanks, everyone. We'll do the normal outro and we'll see you all next week. All right, pirates, that's going to do it for this episode of the Keelhauled podcast. Thank you again to Dread Pirate Doug for joining me this episode, especially after some of the scheduling that we had to work out to be able to get this to happen. And again, hopefully you guys don't mind this being a little bit early. I've got a very busy anime weekend that I'm going to, as well as a bunch of games that I'm trying to do for XEP as far as like Starfield coverage. I want to make sure that I get some time in there. Plus, I'm missing out on a whole bunch of other stuff that I wish I had time for. So I wanted to try and get this knocked out and out there so that I knew I would have an episode for you, because I didn't know if I was going to have time for the rest of this weekend. So hopefully you guys enjoy this. Hopefully you forgive me for the Friday episode. And I will hopefully have the YouTube version out on Monday as usual. Monday is a holiday, so I will be doing more work on Monday, thankfully, to help kind of get this out. But there's something about not having an episode ready at the start of Monday that bugs me. So that's why I wanted to get this out now, as well as the Fest of Legends stuff that's going on with the Race of the Race of Legends stuff that's going on Saturday. I want to make sure folks had an opportunity to jump into that if they wanted to go watch it, which you should, because it's always fun. And shout out to the teams that work hard on practicing that kind of stuff. But that's going to do it for this episode. Pirates, if you want to get a hold of me, there's plenty of ways to do that. First off, the show notes have links to all of my contact information. You can always jump into the Discord where the Sherpas are helping people out from time to time. You can additionally reach me on Twitter /X at CAPT_LOGUN. You can always email the show at CAPTLOGUN@gmail.com. Other than that, I think that's about it. So Pirates, thank you. I love you. And I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.